So, so you guys know this is about self-management or time management. I was taking a course for the leadership, the LEAD program by Buna Tedros Hermina in Florida. So actually I stole this stuff from his presentation. We had a section about self-management and time management. And this is what I'm gonna share with you toward the end. So basically opening the floor to when you hear the word time management, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Like what is one thing or multiple things, and we can maybe go in a circle or you can just voluntarily yell it out. What is something that comes to mind once you hear time management? Discipline.
Meeting deadlines.
Meeting deadlines.
Setting priorities.
Priorities. Okay, what else?
Avoiding procrastination.
Okay, avoiding procrastination. What else?
Waiting to the last minute. That's the opposite of what you said.
Doing it last minute?
That's what time management for me.
I see. Yeah. What else?
Teaching. No, she knows. My report cards are done the day before.
Scheduling. Okay. What else?
You want to put your best effort when it comes to time management. Like if it's like pressing on deadlines. I know, like, it depends on where you work and your scope of work.
So let me back up a little bit. So we're talking about time management. I know sometimes it's hard to think outside of work. So you're automatically thinking, okay, time management at work. Let's try to broaden it out a bit and try to think about it personally too. So in your daily, day-to-day life, like between work, between family, between friends, between your own time for yourself. Finding balance.
Boundaries, like, what is work, what is, personal life, and setting those boundaries.
Okay.
Trying to give time to go.
Okay. Yes, that's part of it as well.
So I'm gonna play on with what Angie said, and means like trying to kind of find the balance, but also not neglecting your own spiritual life. Like if I'm gonna add that part.
Well,
because we spend
yes.
a lot of time on work and like you said, everything else.
Yeah.
But if we kind of set a time for everything, why not give time for God?
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, that's what that is as well.
I think all of the points are very valid. It's pretty much the natural things that comes to mind when you think about time management. Okay, so this is what comes to mind. What about if I say define time management? Like if somebody does not know that word or self-managing, what does that really mean to someone who doesn't know or maybe struggling with that term to understand? What would you say? Like if you want to simplify it to somebody or if you want to explain it to someone, what would you say?
Making a plan and stick to it.
Making a plan and sticking to it. Okay.
Don't waste your time.
Don't waste your time?
No, not your time. Just don't waste time doing nothing.
Okay. So this is a definition of time management.
No.
Okay. So we're trying to define a time management, simplifying it for somebody who might not know what is it.
Just set a time. Just block a time for everything that you need to do. That's it.
Okay.
And it's simple, a very simple way of saying it.
At the base of it, isn't it control? Having control over what you have to do and when you have to do it?
Having control. Yeah. Yeah, that could be. Mm-hmm.
Just scheduling what you find important in your life.
Scheduling what you find important. Okay. I like how you're saying scheduling it, what you see is important, defining it in the sense that it's a priority-based list, controlling something. Anything else? No?
I forgot.
Well, again, it's time management. It's about everything, right? You're talking about your day from the time you wake up, even the time you sleep. So it's everything. It's part of it. So I know it's
Scheduling rest and time to take breaks as well throughout the day.
time to take breaks. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna jump into the third section, which is what if you see somebody struggling to manage their time, or not see, if you have a friend that comes to you is like, I have this million things going on, I have no idea how to get this stuff done, I'm so stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I feel like I can't do it. What would be something that you would suggest in order to help a person who's struggling with time management?
So
Yes.
there's two ways to it. Like I would kind of let them first acknowledge it is kind of an issue for them, right? Like just to assure them
Okay.
it's something that you're going through.
Okay.
And also like along with the lines with priorities, like what could be done that needs to be done, the fastest thing or the first thing that you need to get done, and set time for yourself to kind of pace yourself. So you're not kind of putting everything all together and being stressed out. So if there's something that's like due tomorrow, for example, then okay, then we can work towards it and then meet that deadline and then focus on the next one. Because sometimes as we do, right, like growing up, you feel like you're bombarded with a lot and you don't know where to start.
Right.
Whereas when we kind of narrow it down, what is the priorities, like what's the most priority thing that you have to do, and then we can work backwards.
Right.
And then set some deadlines, short deadlines,
Okay.
that are attainable.
So a list, priority, and deadlines.
Yeah.
This is what I heard. Okay. Anything else, or is there something that we can add on that, or something different? Yes.
So when I'm in that situation, I try to remove myself from it.
Okay.
And cooler heads prevail. Like try to calm myself down, do whatever, do something fun.
Okay.
Completely.
So totally out of. So you
Yeah. 'Cause-
put that aside.
Yeah.
Go do something that's out of that many things that you think you need to do, just to release the stress.
Yeah, I don't even think about the stress. I don't think about the thing.
Okay.
And then I go back to whenever. Now, if it's time sensitive, I'll still do it.
Yeah.
That's also a good idea in terms of sometimes it's sort of you can put something on the shelf, you know, like you said, cooler heads prevail, and then when you're in a better frame of mind, then you can go back
Right.
and tackle that because you're not as emotional at that point.
Right. Right. Yes.
I think that might be kind of a moment to, like it's a cue that you might be taking on a little bit too much. So it's kind of an opportunity to reevaluate, like sometimes less is more.
Right. Yes. Reevaluate. I like that. I really like that. Okay. Very good. So a question to you, and maybe I'd like to hear everybody's thoughts on this. If you are struggling yourself, would you reach out for help? If you have like a million things to do, would you be comfortable, or is this something that you would think about as like, let me go talk to that friend, or let me go, grab that person, or let me go talk to whoever that I know that might help me? Is this something that I want to maybe say, do we do that naturally? Would we do something like that? Like, and I want to hear your thoughts about this.
Not naturally.
Okay.
Naturally, we don't want to bother other people, so we just try to do it all ourselves.
Okay.
Even at work or anything, like I think most of us can agree, we want to do it ourselves, but we know like how to do a certain type of thing.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, I always ask.
but
So you always ask. Here I hear it.
no, but like with time, you learn like
Yeah.
eventually you need to ask for help.
Okay.
Or
Like,
you
for
can
example-
ask,
No, I
for
mean-
permission to extend a deadline or whatnot.
Massive, like again, like so the time management isn't just time management. It's managing the amount of work you can do.
Yeah.
Is that's ultimately what it boils down to.
Right. And that's why, again, I just want to reiterate that it's a self-management. It's not a time management. You're managing yourself, and yourself includes all your aspects. Everything that you do is you. So you're managing that. You're not just managing your time, because time can be misinterpreted. Alex, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I mean, when you want to manage yourself, when it comes to, use myself as an example. You know, especially when it comes to work, when it comes to other things, you always have to make sure that you've done what you want to do. But then if there's something basically you don't know, that what are you gonna do? You can't just aim aimlessly or keep looking for an answer that's not there. Whether that's at work, your spiritual life, or within relationships. So you always have to reach for help, or find where to find that source of help, wherever that might be for you, right? So that's the whole thing.
So it comes by practice, basically.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen right away, but eventually it becomes as a practice. You know who to reach out to. You know who is gonna actually be able to help, and so on. So
It's a skill.
yes, go
I
ahead.
was going to mention two things that might sound contradicting each other.
Okay.
But bear with me.
Go
I did
ahead.
a course back in grade 13 because I was last one to do grade 13, and it was business administration, so it's based on business and whatnot. And they told us, and I'm sure you guys know the term synergy. Synergy is like,
Yep.
like if you kind of dedicate kind of in something and get it efficient and get it done,
Mm-hmm.
because you're all on the same page, you know what you're doing, let's get it done. It's focused. But on the contrary, that could be distraction because like you want to get a lot of inputs and then so you feel like I have to listen to this person, I have to get this person's point of view. I mean, even though you are working on the same common goal, but sometimes that could be a distraction. So you kind of have to kind of, like you said, and everyone, I humbly respect everybody's opinion here, sometimes you kind of have to pick who you reach out to.
Of
in terms
course,
resources.
absolutely. That's
So-
a key, right?
Right. Because
Absolutely.
sometimes we think we can do it all and then we stress ourselves out, or when we ask for a lot of ideas or bouncing ideas, that could also be hindering you from meeting your deadline.
Correct.
So-
It's very important to know who to ask for what.
Yeah.
Because,
And that-
for example, like something I face at work is that I know that person is really helpful. But if I go talk to that person, the rest of the day is gone. Like, you know, that person's not going to stop talking for hours. So I know if I'm going to have to reach out to that person, I have to schedule a specific time. I have to have a meeting before and a meeting after to make sure that I have a dead stop and I have to get out of the call. And I know that person's actually very helpful. But sometimes you end up in a position where I want to get out of that conversation and it's really hard, and you know that the help is going to be valuable, but at the same time you want to be careful of who you reach out to, because you don't want to, as you said, Nancy, distract yourself and end up actually getting more information that you needed, or end up having more things that you were not planning on doing but now you're going to have to do. So it's a very important aspect that it's a key. Who do we reach out to, and knowing the right people to reach out to for different things.
And also, there's nothing wrong with delegating stuff.
Yeah.
Right? That delegation is important because you can still do it in different pieces, right, or different parts. But then, I talk a lot. I'm sorry, guys.
No, that's perfect.
No, but
I mean,
ramble on.
delegation, part of managing is delegation, right? And it's hard, especially if a person is used to doing things themselves. It's hard to delegate things. And that could be at home, that could be at work, that could be in the service at church, because you're so used to doing something. So you wanted that like perfect, I have worked on it, I know how it's being done, and now it's like, no, you need to leave this, give it to somebody else and focus on something else. And you're like, no, but then they're not doing the same thing. And it's a struggle because I see that at work where it comes to like, you want to give it to a person to do a PowerPoint, for example. But then they end up doing the PowerPoint, the bullet points are not matching, the slides are not matching. And it's like, come on, like the simplest things. But it's like, you have to learn to be okay with it, because nothing is perfect and expectation doesn't have to be as what you're used to doing it yourself. So no, that's great. Okay, so I'm gonna jump in here to a couple of things about self-management, and it's kind of like 10 steps in terms of to self-manage yourself, and it's kind of tips that we can use. And it's really for all of us. But the first one to start with is formation of new habits. Part of being able to manage is to have new habits, is to implement new things, is to be like, well, I tried, this is not working, let me try something else. And you see here, like there's 3 things to being able to acquire a new habit, and that's decision, discipline, and determination. So you have to make a decision that I need to wake up every day at 7 instead of 9, for example. And then you need to be disciplined to that. So you want to hold yourself accountable to doing that. So you're going to try the first day, the second day, the third day, and so on. You want to keep that accountability for yourself. And then you have to be determined about it. So you have to be like, I have to do it. So I missed a day, I missed the 2, I missed, another one, but I have to be determined. Like, I'm going to do it. And I know it's hard, but it takes, as they say, it takes 21 days to build a habit, right? So it takes time.
Just 21 days.
That's, yeah. Somebody told me that. Maybe it's not 100.
21 days to build a habit.
41?
21.
21, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I said.
I think it takes 30 to actually adopt it, like fully adopt it.
Okay. Here you go. Yes. So it's not that hard technically. It's just getting that, it's really having that state where you say, I'm going to make a decision of, waking up at 7 instead of 9, for example. Then we're going to talk about the steps of self-management. So this is something called Stimulate 3, and it's basically we're going to take each letter of that word, and we're going to dig into it a little bit. So I'm just going to read them out here, but then we're going to dive into them more. Self-discipline, technology, imaginary deadlines, motivate yourself, upgrade your skills, little salami slices, adjust priorities, think on paper, everyday plan in advance, and the law of the 3. Okay? So we're gonna, if you guys can see, some of these things you guys already said when we were talking about what is time management, what is the first thing that comes to mind, how to help somebody who's struggling with time management, and so on. So first one is self-discipline. And part of self-discipline is mastering your own self. It's like I'm managing myself. I'm the manager of myself, of my day. I'm gonna evaluate that. I'm gonna make sure it's being done on track and so on. And also self-control. You have to control yourself because part of us naturally, it's like you want to get out of the way, you want to do your own thing, you don't want to really follow the rule. So part of it is self-control. You have to control certain things that you might want to do, but it's not right to do. Basic blocks of character and high performance. So basically the mastering yourself and having a self-control are both a basic characteristics of self-discipline. The next one is technology. So technology is important and it is useful. However, it's not a master, it's a servant. And you have to think of it that it's going to help you and not hinder you. And at the same time, it's supposed to make your life smoother and not complex. So, I don't know if any of you read the news a lot, but if you're on your phone trying to get the news about the world or something like that, I think that's, it's a lot of things you're putting in yourself, and it's sometimes not really useful. You can't really do anything about it. It just might upset you, but then you can't really do anything about it sometimes. So things like that. So I always think of it, it's a tool to help me and try to actually use it for the benefit of myself. The third one is imaginary deadlines, and I actually really like this. This is one of my favorites because you could, I'm sorry, I have to use a work example, but for example, if there is a project that has had deadline, or we're dealing with a customer that needs something by that specific date, there is always, everybody's is aware of that date, everybody's working to that date, but if you come and be like, well, it's not actually July 30th, it's July 25th, and it's kind of you give yourself that 5 days extra of, I know things are gonna go wrong. Things will go wrong, nothing's always smooth. And just that imaginary deadline in order to do something. It's not really that deadline, but it leads you toward the deadline. And that can happen with so many other things in your task, going out, doing something, or things that you need to do at home, or things that you need to do for service, or things that you need to do with friends, or whatever it is that is something that needs to be done. Usually you need to do it by a certain time. So creating those deadlines.
You say flexible, don't be 3 hours.
But yeah, again, you need to be flexible. Yeah.
You have to account for the differences.
Time Egyptian, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For a church trip and not doing it till the day of the church trip.
Exactly. Motivating yourself. So I don't know if you guys can read this, but there is a verse from the Bible in Nehemiah 2:20 that says, "The God of heaven himself will prosper us. Therefore, we his servants, will arise and build." And it's basically trying to always push yourself And I really like that slide because, I don't know, I feel like culturally we're not grown up that way or to think that way. It's like you need to be your own, you know, you need to be your own cheerleader. You need to say, yes, like I did this good job. Like I put a list, I got it done, like I did it, so that's good. Coaching yourself and encouraging yourself, controlling your inner dialogue. So talk, like the self-talk things that, you know, our mind does not ever stop thinking. So the thoughts, making sure we're filtering things out. When it's negative, trying to put that aside, try to focus on the positive things that we have done. Yes, you might have 10 things on your list, you only did 2, and it's like, oh, but you only did 2, yes, the rest of it is not done, you're really lacking, you're so behind, and you just have that talk in your head sometimes, and it's like, no, but I did 2, and they were really difficult, and they are done, I'm still working through the rest, and it's not the end of the world, and I'll get there, and so on. So I think that's really important as well. Which is back to the last point, develop a self-positive mental attitude. So basically talking positively about what you do to yourself. Next is upgrading your skills. So like reading, taking courses, listening to audio programs. There was something that I read that says we spend about 500 to 1,000 hours in our cars per year. So basically like listening to audio, books or programs or talks or things like that during a car ride, for example, is something that could be useful. The little salami slice one is basically if you have like a big, you know, task that you need to do. Let's say you have guests coming over, or you have to plan something at home for people, whatever that is. Trying to divide it in small chunks, basically. And instead of thinking it, well, I have to do all of these things at once for that specific day, it's trying to think of, I'm gonna take this one, okay, that's done, and then this one that's done, and this one and that's done, and so on. So basically trying to divide the big task into little pieces and trying to say, yes, that's achieved, and working through it that way. Adjust priorities and maximize productivity. And I think that's a really important thing, because sometimes we tend to go to doing the small and easy tasks first and leave the big stuff to the end, when we should, or not, I don't like the word should, but when we actually, if we do the bigger things first, we would feel like that is an accomplishment. That is something that I needed to get done and it's done, rather than starting with the small things and then realizing, oops, wait, like I thought I could do it today, but I can't. This has to wait for tomorrow, but tomorrow's not gonna be a good day, and then stress about it, and then have to pull an all-nighter, for example, because something had to get done. So trying to do priorities, and I think all of us mentioned that when we first started talking about what is time management, is that pretty much everybody said priorities, like putting in a priority list. What is important? What is my highest priority? I'll start with that and work out the rest. Because the rest doesn't really, like it's okay to wait for tomorrow, but other things cannot wait for tomorrow, for example. Yeah, basically resisting temptation to do the small tasks first, having control over what you do, ability to choose what is important and unimportant is the key to your success. So think on paper. I know maybe not a lot of people are a fan of this, but I'm I do like to write things sometimes, or take notes on computer or notes on the phone, but like basically trying to crystallize your thoughts into something that you could see. And personally, I sometimes have a lot of things going on, and it's like, okay, let's write this down because it's just getting too much. And then when things are written down, it's like, okay, what is important? What is not important? Maybe something I don't need to do at all. It's just I'm overthinking about it, and basically trying to understand and see what is necessary. Because sometimes we over-exaggerate things, or we think that we have too much, but we end up realizing that it's not really. It's okay. It's only 5 things. Why do things like million things? It's okay. You can do it. So that's basically a think on paper. It doesn't have to be physically, but like the idea of seeing your thoughts on something written. planning in advance. So planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now. And I really like that quote. It's you know what you need to accomplish, so you're bringing your future into the present, and then you're doing something on it, like you're acting upon it right now. Time spent in planning is not a wasted time. It's actually a saved time, because when you plan, you know what your priorities, what your goals, what are you gonna do about your list or the things that you need to accomplish, and that eventually saves your time later. Proper planning prevents poor performance. So basically, the good planning will prevent poor performance. And lastly, the rule of three: do what you can with what you have where you are. So sometimes we overthink things as in like, I have to get this done, but I don't have the tools, I don't have the people, or I don't have the whatever it is that I need to get something done. So trying to, okay, what can I do right now? What do I have to do it with? And can I do it where I am right at this moment? Because this is always good to think about it, because we sometimes, as you mentioned, control, we have to be very careful with control, because controlling too much might actually hinder and stress and not help. But it's that, okay, what can I do right now that will be effective, that will actually help? And then this is just to put it all back together of all what we spoke about. So any comments, feedback about these 10 steps or tips to use? Anyone wants to add anything?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, like, it might be off topic again, but one of them is motivate yourself.
Yes.
When you are like pressed with deadlines and time management and stuff, sometimes it's very hard to kind of motivate yourself. So what are some of the tools, strategies that one can do to gain that motivation back? Sometimes you feel like you're overwhelmed and you're exhausted. You need someone to kind of give you that extra push, but you can't help yourself.
Well, and this is where it comes where, you know, sometimes you will not find that. And it's okay. Like sometimes, yes, it's always good to hear like, good job, like you did it. Like, I know it's hard, but I know you can do it. It's good to hear that, and we need that. But at the same time, we have to accept the fact that this is not always going to be available. And as Yusuf mentioned, when there are so many things, sometimes just, okay, let me just put everything on hold, or not on hold necessarily, but let me just not stop thinking about it. Try to do something that's totally different, activity, whatever it is, something that you like to do.
Go for a walk, take a shower.
Whatever, yes, something different outside of your setting, for example, and then come back with that. Because I think part of not being able to motivate yourself is the stress. If you're stressed, if you're, you know, worried, if you, like, it's not gonna happen, I know I can't meet it, I know this is not gonna work, it's okay, really, if you think about it, nothing is gonna, like, really affect you that bad. There's always things that we can talk about, work through it, change things, ask for more help, bring in more people, reduce things from, maybe these are not important, you know, sit, reschedule, replan, readjust, all of these things. So it's always good to step back, rest, do something, come back to it with a fresh mind kind of thing. Yeah.
You can do little rewards for yourself in the middle of your tasks, or when you have a bunch of tasks, you do little rewards. So if somebody, what is that one? They put like a little, like, kind of like a
chocolate thing,
like,
yeah,
so like
That's not good.
Reese's Pieces or whatever, or
Like when you're crushed.
Smarties, and then you know they'll have one like when they finish a bunch of stuff like the tasks. You can go to the extreme version where you buy stuff online. You're like, okay, you know what? If I finish everything, I'll go do something, or I'll do something fun, or you can reward yourself. So self-reward is a way of some motivation.
I don't like your example. That can be on the scale, on the long run.
It doesn't have to be chocolate. It could be something else.
something
Yes,
else.
Yusuf.
It could be an option.
I was reading something about. I find with a lot of motivation. Sometimes you have to reframe how you look at everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you can combine a couple of these. I find like if you think on paper, you can jot it down and break down that, because a large goal might seem very daunting.
Right.
So break that down into, I don't know, 10 slices. Knock one out, good. Knock one out, good. Because if you find that you do something and you're, I don't know, 10% of the way there, you feel like you've done nothing. But if you feel like you knocked down a section, good. And that's all reframing your mind, because you just change the way you look at it.
Yeah.
If you write it down on paper, you actually see it sometimes. Because I find that when I have a million things going on, it's like a ball of elastic bands in my head, and I don't know what's going on.
That's right.
It's chaotic. So, like, sit down, settle down, write it down, plan it out. A lot of this is up there.
Yes, that's
But I
right.
find a lot of them tie in.
Yes, that's true. Anything else? Add, comment, question?
Kind of break it into 4 kind of different sections sometimes. When it comes to motivating and time management, like what's urgent and important, like that's number 1. That's like supposed to motivate me. And then there's not urgent but important, not urgent and not important. So like going about it that way, my list helps motivate me to complete what I need to do.
Nice.
Isn't there like a Bible verse that's like, don't worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow will worry
Let
about
tomorrow to worry about itself. Yeah, that's right. Yes.
So it's like, take one day at a time. Just like, everything will get done eventually. And then, before we forget.
If we're gonna go with that kind of analogy, I'd like to think that God did not create the world in one day, right?
Yes.
Even him, you have to take the 7th day off to rest. So I think if that's something that we could do to kind of, like you said, take a day or take the time that you need to kind of unwind, do whatever you like for yourself, kind of to self-care, if you want to call it that, and then go back to it.
That's right. Awesome. Anything else? Okay, so we have Nadine. She has prepared an activity for us. And it's kind of, it's going to be to apply what we have talked about so far. You guys are not going to move, because I don't want to move either. So no moving required.
Actually, we need to split them into groups.
It's easy, just like this. Okay.
No, you said you're not gonna move. We're here. We're a group here, there, then.
Yeah, just 2 groups. Simple. Easy and simple. 2 groups right there.
Okay. Can we all give
What's the value basics? This is too many numbers. I'm actually math? Yeah, I don't do math. Are we in a group of 3 now?
Yeah, I guess so. There's 3.
So guys, basically,
I don't do math either, yes.
it's a very short story. It says every day an investor deposits 86,400 into your account. The only downside, by the end of the night,